Turkey. Well, let's get more from France 24's European Affairs editor Armen Georgian. Armen, it does seem, doesn't it, that Ukraine was very much the focus of discussions at the summit so far?
Certainly that was the case earlier this afternoon, especially as President Zelensky addressed EU leaders by video conference. And he did get a takeaway, it must be said, from this EU summit. We've had confirmation that the EU will provide these extra artillery shells, and actually not only that, but potentially missiles and precision-guided weapons as well. Details still to be hashed out, but the basic architecture is there. The money will come from something called the European Peace Facility, which might sound like an ironic term for it to some, but it's certainly a watershed moment for the EU, which is obviously an entire project based on peace between France and Germany, now using this platform called the European Peace Facility to actually jointly procure weapons for Ukraine and to try to make sure that Ukraine can match Russian artillery shell production. Obviously, it remains to be seen very much whether that is actually the case or not over the next 12 months, which is when this particular plan covers is the next 12 months, particularly when it comes to artillery shells.
And something that was overshadowing this summit was a row between Paris and Berlin. What's this all about?
Well, they're at odds over a couple of things. I mean, firstly, this question of fuel for combustion engines. The combustion engine is meant to be phased out by 2035, but Germany has sprung a bit of a surprise on this summit by saying essentially that deal should be revisited and that perhaps combustion engines can continue to run after 2035 on e-fuels. The Germans are getting pushback from countries, including France, on that question. Other countries saying we can't reopen the whole deal. It's already been negotiated. It would set a very bad precedent if we suddenly started to revisit this kind of agreement that's already been done, and the whole decision-making architecture of these EU summits would then start to come apart. But in any case, that point is actually sort of really something that's being discussed on the sidelines of the summit. The main thrust of this discussion this evening is on EU competitiveness more generally, and in the context of EU competitiveness, we have to point out that the European Commission very recently outlined something called the Net Zero Industry Act, which claims to define which industries are clean, which can be used in order to push forward with the whole energy transition. And this is where France is at odds with Germany and other countries on the nuclear issue, because France considers nuclear energy to be very important to its energy mix, and it wants nuclear energy to be classified as a key technology of the future under this Net Zero Industry Act. Germany very much begs to differ on that, so that will certainly be a bone of contention at the bilateral meeting which we're expecting to happen between President Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz tomorrow morning.
Okay, Armen Georgian, our European Affairs editor. Thank you very much indeed for that update from Brussels.